Hello. Today I'll be discussing el movimiento, specifically women who took a part of it. First, I would like to ask who or what comes to mind when el movimiento is mentioned. I bet it's easier to think of a man in el movimiento rather than a woman. So today, I will shine some light on how women helped in el movimiento, specifically how Gloria Arellanes and her activism benefited several Mexican American and immigrant communities.
El movimiento was a Mexican civil rights movement. It also was focused on addressing negative ethnic stereotypes that were put out in the media. The movement had been alive since the 1940s, but did not take its full momentum until after World War II. It was in result of the Longoria case where a Mexican-American serviceman, was denied proper burial service in his hometown, so they formed the American GI Forum. Other organizations that were formed were the Brown Barrettes, MECHA, Mexican American Legal Defenses, and Education Fund.
Although the Chicano movement was a positive thing for several Chicanos, there was still a missing aspect of this movement. And that aspect was that women were not being seen as a priority by most of the men in the Chicano movement. The Chicano movement was mostly interested in issues such as employment and immigration, not on issues regarding women or families. In result, in the 1970s, Chicanas formed la Comisión Femenina Mexicana Nacional. This organization gave women a platform to be leaders and address Chicana issues without having to combat male sexism. In 1973, the Comisión called for a conference in Goleta, California, where 800 women attended. The conference focused on topics such as education, childcare, sex education, and family planning. In 1975, the Comisión participated in a class action lawsuit against involuntary sterilization of Chicanas. This lawsuit reflected their interests. The publicity that was given from the lawsuit brought about the use of bilingual consent forms in clinics and in hospitals. Among several women that fought in the Chicana movement, a remarkable woman that stood out was Gloria Arellanes. Arellanes was born in 1941 in East Los Angeles, but raised in El Monte. Her father was a Mexican immigrant and her mother was a Native American Tongiv. This made it difficult for Arellanes to make sense of her racial background. While at school, they pushed for Americanization. Her father would always tell her that she was a Chicana. She had no idea what that meant at the time. In an article that she interviewed for, she recalls the racial tension in her school. This tension went to a full-on race riot at her school. Also, she recalls that her neighborhood was predominantly white and had a Nazi party that targeted Mexican people and would attack them. Arellanes was awoken by all these injustices. She began to get involved in the Monte High School, where she attended. She joined the Mexican American Youth Council, which gave Mexican American students the opportunity to talk about issues in the school and even outside of school. This was where her activism started. She knew she wanted to organize. She then began to organize in her community. She would hang out at cafes and befriend youth with the same mindset as her. She eventually joined the Brown Barrettes in the East Los Angeles chapter in 1967. She broke barriers by becoming the Brown Barrettes Minister of Finance and Correspondence. No other woman had an official position in the Barrettes. This made Arellanes very important in the Chicana movement. Initially, the Barrettes did not have a good reputation. Many just thought of them as radicals. Arellanes was essential in changing that bad reputation. Arellanes and the Barrettes built a clinic called Barrio Free Clinic. The purpose of the clinic was to offer free healthcare services to Mexican immigrants and Mexican Americans. Services and information about sex education and reproductive health was available. The staff spoke both English and Spanish. Arellanes loved that clinic and was very passionate about it, so she became the official clinic director in July 1967. Arellanes struggled maintaining her position because of the misogyny in the Barrettes. Arellanes recalls that the men were not part of it because all they wanted to do was party when the clinic was closed and hang around when there was patients with children. Although it was tough, Arellanes was resilient against the sexism within the Barrettes and continued to make the Barrio Free Clinic flourish. This was just a brief insight on how women were involved in the movement and even made their own movement within it, the Chicana movement. And there are still several women who remain quote-unquote unnamed that helped immensely in the fight for rights for the Chicana women. Gloria Arellanes is definitely the epitome of a woman warrior because even though the Barrettes did give her an official title, they still belittled her for being a woman. This is just an example that we can all fight for what's right for our raza, regardless of being a woman or a man.